The Vilgaxian said that they didn't have it with a smirk, but the figure didn't believe them and rammed their fist into them, shoving them back, reaching into their cloak and taking a silver gauntlet from them, placing it over their right hand, saying that now they only needed the other and they could go after that once they were ready. Reverb demands his payment since they brought the person in question, and the person with the gauntlet says of course before charging up some sort of strange energy, though Ben had recognized it and reacted instantly as smoke began filling the area, or what we'd assume was smoke. We see that the area around them was now rusted and crumbling as if it had been aged. However, there were large crystals in front of Ben and their group, with Ben having changed into diamond-headed, smirking, telling them that diamonds and crystals don't particularly like to age much on their own, as he sharpened his hands into small bumpy spikes. Ben began firing crystals at the figure as they'd moved out of the way and told them that they concede the battle to them this time. They already have what they want after all, and then proceed to escape using whatever abilities the silver gauntlet granted them. The Vilgaxian got angry and hit the ground annoyed. There was a blue flash of light as our old pal appeared. At first, the other two were going to attack, but Ben and Gwen told them to calm down. They'd said that this was Professor Paradox. He's a friend of theirs. Paradox then speaks, saying that right they are, though he's afraid that he has some rather bad news this time around. Ben asked how bad they were talking there, and Paradox said that the being's name was Eon. They wanted to use a device called the Hands of Armageddon to unleash their army into this dimension and take over. To which Reverb says that's bad, right? Paradox then says that he won't be able to help them much this go around because the walls around the hands are paper thin. Ben then asked if he could just tell them up front what they needed to do, and Paradox smiled, stating that he was the one that learned the most from everything. Being the anomaly, he may be the one to handle them for good. But then cut to the chase, telling Ben that he would need to build a team and go after Eon to stop him before he unleashes his army. Ben then asked where the next location was, and Paradox stated that it would be best to visit Koros next, and to be careful of what's out there in the universe ready to try to fight against them. And word of advice, second chances may be just what they need to end up saving everyone in the end. Once the time is right, he will reveal more. With that, they vanished, leaving the four of them there. The Vilgaxian said that he was going after Eon, and Ben said that so was he. Gwen said that she didn't want to be left out. Reverb also said that he was going to go with. That bastard owed him, and he'd collect one way or another. Sighing, Ben says that they still needed to stock up on supplies before they could leave, however. Gwen told Ben that they also needed to get actual clothing for them to change into so that they wouldn't go around stinking the whole time they were going after Eon, to which he'd agreed and said that they needed to chat with Gwen for just a moment, pulling her away from the other two for just a moment to chat about something, as we see that her eyes had gone wide and she'd shouted, questioning that they were gone for how long now? Sighing, Ben told her again, and she'd said that that's much longer compared to what they had planned. Nodding, he'd agreed with her and said that they still had to deal with Eon first, but they could get going back home to Earth afterwards. Agreeing with this, she said that maybe taking the two of them along would help them handle things faster, which Ben agreed with as well. Then the two walked on back over to them. Gwen tells the two that if they want to join them going after Eon, then they'd have to get cleaned up and changed because they stink. The Vilgaxian was about to say something, but a look from Ben kept them quiet as they just nodded in agreement, and the four of them then began to shop for food and clothing through various stalls and stores around them, getting them sent to the ship. After getting cleaned up and changed into new clothing, some exotic alien dress that Gwen really liked, they'd gone off to get lunch, with Ben telling them that after they finished having lunch there, supplies should all be loaded onto the ship, and then they could all go. The Vilgaxian had told them their name in that time as well, being Garlax. They were discussing what to do after lunch, which Ben had said that they should head out to Coros and only make stops as needed, so no unneeded breaks. They want to make stops, they can put it on a list and they can check it out while on the way back to Earth or whatever. The others then nodded in agreement with that idea as they were having lunch, almost being done eating, and hopefully they would be done with the loading soon. Once finished eating, they then paid and headed on off to the ship, seeing that the last of their stuff was being loaded onto the cargo area. Ben then did a once-over to make sure that everything had been delivered. Once that was done, they paid the dockmaster and headed on off out into space to go after Eon. They continued on, and Ben put the ship on auto while he and Gwen went to chat together. She told him that they didn't want to be from Earth this long, and he apologized, saying that he didn't realize it'd be so long already, with a sigh, but also told her that they would stop Eon, then go home to Earth, to which she'd agreed with that, saying that they'd better because this was a bit long for a honeymoon, even for them. Ben apologized again, saying that they would stop Eon, and that they would be heading on home to Earth once this whole thing was over, as he wrapped his arms around his wife, the two missing their home planet having been gone so long. They'd started wondering how things had changed and what had stayed the same. Would they recognize it? Maybe, maybe not. That was hard to tell since they hadn't contacted back home in a long time. He suggested sending a message on home to everyone to let them know that the two of them were alright, and Gwen agreed to that, with a nod, liking the idea, as they then began recording the message and sent it out back towards Earth. It'd take about 3 days Earth time to get to the others. In it, they'd apologized for not letting everyone know they were alright, and told them that they'd lost track of time being floating out in space the whole time.